The rain fell like tears that night, cold and relentless, as Sarah pressed her forehead against the hospital window and watched the world blur into streaks of light and shadow. Behind her, machines beeped their monotonous rhythm, counting down the moments of her mother's life in mechanical precision. She was 23 years old, standing on the edge of losing everything that mattered, and the only thing she could think about was a promise she'd made when she was 7, a promise scrawled in crayon on construction paper that still hung on her mother's refrigerator. "I'll make you proud, Mama. I'll be just like you." But how do you become like someone when you're about to lose them? How do you learn to love the way they loved when their voice is fading and their hand is growing cold in yours? Sarah had grown up watching her mother, Linda, transform their small apartment in Brooklyn into a sanctuary for anyone who needed it. Their dinner table never seated just 2. There was always a third chair pulled up for Mr. Chen from down the hall who'd lost his wife or destiny, the teenage girl from 4C whose parents worked double shifts, or Marcus, the veteran, who sometimes forgot which year it was but never forgot the kindness of a warm meal. Linda worked 2 jobs, mornings at the bakery, evenings cleaning offices. But she always had time, always had an extra plate, always had room in her heart. "We don't have much," Linda would tell Sarah, tucking her into bed. "But what we have, we share. That's what makes us rich, baby girl." Now, as Sarah sat vigil beside her mother's hospital bed, watching cancer steal her away, breath by breath, she felt anything but rich. She felt hollow, bankrupt. The medical bills had drained their savings. The experimental treatments insurance wouldn't cover had cost everything. Sarah had dropped out of nursing school to work full-time, but it was never enough. It would never be enough. "You should go home, sweetie," the night nurse, Patricia, said gently, touching Sarah's shoulder. "Get some rest. I'll call you if anything changes." Sarah shook her head. She couldn't leave. What if her mother woke up? What if these were the last hours, and she missed them because she was sleeping in an empty apartment that echoed with absence? "I'm staying," she whispered. Patricia nodded, understanding in her eyes. She'd seen this 1,000 times, the desperate vigil, the refusal to surrender even when surrender was inevitable. At 2 a.m., Sarah finally dozed, her head resting on the edge of her mother's bed, her hand still clasping Linda's. She dreamed of construction paper and crayons, of promises made in a child's careful handwriting. She woke to voices, Patricia's and another unfamiliar. A woman stood in the doorway, maybe 40, with dark hair pulled back and eyes that held their own kind of exhaustion. She was speaking quietly to the nurse, gesturing, her face creased with concern. "I'm sorry," Patricia was saying, "but we can't just—" "Please," the woman interrupted, her voice breaking slightly. "I've been in every hospital in a 50-mile radius. This is the last one. I'm begging you. Just let me ask her myself." "Ask who what?" Sarah stood, defensive, protective of her mother's space. The woman's eyes locked on Sarah's, and something passed between them. Recognition of shared pain, perhaps, or shared desperation. "My daughter," the woman said simply. "She's 8 years old and she's dying. She needs a kidney transplant and Her voice cracked. "I've been searching for someone on the donor list who might be a match, someone whose family might consider. I know it's asking the impossible. I know I have no right. But I saw your mother's name, Linda Martinez, and I had to try." Sarah's mind reeled. "My mother? She's on the donor list?" "Has been for 15 years, Patricia confirmed quietly. "It's in her records." Of course she was. Of course Linda had signed up to give her organs away. Of course she'd found a way to help people even in death. The woman, she introduced herself as Rebecca, explained through tears. Her daughter, Emma, had been sick for 2 years. They'd exhausted their insurance, sold their house, moved into Rebecca's sister's basement. Rebecca worked 3 jobs now, sleeping 4 hours a night, running on coffee and terror. Emma was running out of time. "I know your mother isn't gone yet," Rebecca said, her voice barely a whisper. "And I know how that sounds. How awful this is, me standing here hoping, God, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have come. This is wrong. I don't know what else to do." She turned to leave, and Sarah should have let her go. Should have sent this stranger away from her, mother's deathbed, and returned to her vigil. But instead, she heard herself say, "Wait." Rebecca stopped. "My mother," Sarah began, choosing her words carefully. "She taught me that we're supposed to help each other, That's what she always said. We help each other, Sarah. That's the only thing that matters. I can't ask you to. You're not asking, Sarah interrupted. I'm offering if my mom could save your daughter, she'd want to. I know she would. But there are things we need to discuss. Logistics, medical compatibility, time. Over the next 3 days, Sarah and Rebecca became unlikely companions in grief and hope. They discovered that Emma was, miraculously, a potential match for Linda's kidney. They discovered that Rebecca had once been a teacher before Emma got sick, that she loved poetry and old movies. They discovered that Emma was brave and funny and loved drawing horses, that she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up, if she got to grow up. Linda never regained consciousness. On the 4th day, as autumn rain streaked the windows and the machines recorded the final slowing of her heart, Sarah held her mother's hand and whispered, "You're going to save someone." "Mama, one more person at your table. One more life you'll change." The surgery was scheduled immediately. Sarah signed the papers with shaking hands, authorized the harvest of her mother's organs, kidney, liver, corneas. Linda would help 5 people in death, the way she'd helped hundreds in life. She met Emma the day after the transplant. The little girl was pale, weak, but her eyes were bright with the particular awareness of children who faced death and found a reprieve. "You're Sarah," Emma said, her voice small but steady. "You're the one whose mom gave me her kidney." Sarah nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. "Mom says your mom was a hero," Emma continued. "She says heroes are people who help other people even when it's hard, even when it costs them something." "That's right," Sarah managed. "Then you're a hero too," Emma declared with the absolute certainty of childhood. "Because this was hard for you and you helped me anyway. You and your mom both." In that moment, sitting beside a child she'd never met before a week ago, Sarah felt something shift inside her. The hollowness began to fill, not with what she'd lost, but with what remained. Her mother's legacy wasn't in possessions or money. It was in this, the chain of kindness, the decision to help even when helping hurt, the understanding that we're all connected, all responsible for each other. 6 months later, Sarah returned to nursing school. Rebecca helped her apply for scholarships and grants, using her teacher skills to craft compelling essays. "Your mother believed in education," Rebecca said. "Let us help you finish what you started." The apartment in Brooklyn became, once again, a place where the table was never set for just one. Emma visited every Sunday, growing stronger, filling sketchbooks with drawings of horses and, increasingly, with portraits of a woman she'd never met but whose gift had given her a future. Rebecca became the sister Sarah never had, and Sarah became the aunt Emma needed. On the 1st anniversary of Linda's death, they planted a tree in Prospect Park, a cherry blossom that would bloom every spring, pink and defiant and beautiful. They attached a small plaque. "Linda Martinez." She believed in kindness. She believed in us. Standing there, surrounded by the family grief and grace had given her, Sarah finally understood what her mother had been trying to teach her all along. We don't become like the people we love by holding on to them. We become like them by loving the way they loved, by opening our hands and our hearts, by understanding that the greatest wealth isn't what we keep, but what we give away. Years later, when Sarah graduated nursing school and began working in hospice care, she would think of that night often, the stranger in the doorway, the impossible request, the decision that changed everything. She would hold the hands of dying patients and weep with their families, and she would tell them about second chances and living legacies and the way love doesn't end when a heart stops beating. She would tell them about her mother, who set an extra place at the table even when money was tight, who signed up to be an organ donor because she believed we're supposed to take care of each other, who taught her daughter that being rich has nothing to do with what's in your bank account and everything to do with what's in your heart. And when people asked Sarah why she did this work, why she chose to spend her days with death and grief and families falling apart, she would smile, her mother's smile, warm and knowing, and she would say, "Because we help each other. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us whole." Emma is 16 now, healthy and strong, volunteering at an animal shelter and planning for veterinary school. She wears a necklace with a small pendant, a kidney-shaped charm inscribed with Linda's initials. "My guardian angel," she calls it. Rebecca remarried to a kind man who treats Emma like his own. And they named their new daughter Linda. And Sarah? Sarah keeps setting that extra place at the table, keeps opening her door to anyone who needs it, keeps choosing kindness even when it costs her something, especially when it costs her something, because that's what her mother taught her. That's the promise she made in crayon on construction paper when she was 7 years old. That's what it means to make someone proud. Not to become great or famous or rich, but to become good, to become generous, to become the kind of person who understands that we're all we've got, and that has to be enough. It is enough. It's everything